So, welcome back to the Contrarians. We are back at it again. We've got another panel here. This one is a bit of an opinion panel. We just wanted to check in and get you some opinions on the year 2022. That is this year, currently as of recording. So if you're watching this in the future, might be a little outdated, but for us right now, this is brand spanking new. So we're going to just go around. This is going to be, because it's opinion one, we're not going to do rounds. We're just going to go one after another. Everyone can give their top three favorite picks for 2022 and a couple honorable mentions around at the end. And if we have some time, we can maybe do a discussion and see if there's any picks that stirred something in anyone here. So before we get started, a couple housekeeping things. If you like the channel, please like and subscribe. Please share. Please send this to anyone who you think might be of like mind and want to chat as well. If you want to get in on the chats as well, there is also a Patreon that'll get you access any tier. There's also merch. There's a TeePublic, I believe. There's a Ko-fi to buy Martin a coffee, I think is the parlance that is used. But most importantly, we're just happy to have you here. And if you want to join the conversation, please feel free, drop a line in the comments, let everyone know what you're thinking, maybe get in an argument or two, just have some fun.
Oh yes.
All right, so let's just go right into it in no particular order. Actually, that's a lie. The order of the Zoom strip at the top of my screen here, we're going to go around and we're going to get a sampling of some contrarian top 3 2022 picks. So let's start with David. And David, why don't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself? If you have a website or a channel you'd like to direct people to, now is the time, and then give us your top 3 picks.
Okay, so yeah, I do have a YouTube channel, Davy's Cinema Flicks and Music Picks. It's not very good, but you know, it's mine. I'm on it, so there's that. That might put people off, but you know, I'm thinking of making a bid for Twitter now that Elon Musk has pulled out. But you know, apart from that, you'll find me frequently on Ryan's channel, Ryan's Final Destination, Sea of Tranquility. I was on there with Jamie the other day. It's a pleasure, never a chore. Well, can't say the same for Jamie. Sorry, Jamie.
It's a chore.
Apart from that, I'm usually just online harassing random people. So yeah. So shall I jump into my picks? Or, yeah, I've got the thumbs up. So this one, full disclosure, I was sent this for review. And I, generally speaking, say no to that kind of thing because I think, I didn't start making videos to get things. But then when I listened to it, which probably tells you why I liked it, because I listened to it 3 times, I thought, no, it would be on my list even if I'd paid full whack for it. And it is the new album from, and you will know us by the Trail of the Dead, which just came out this past week. I've had it for about a week and a half now, called 11 Bleed Here Now, which is ostensibly would be a double album because it is about 75 minutes. It's jam-packed. They have had a bit of a shaky last decade after a really great kind of post-punk start, where they stumbled into, are we alternative? Are we Muse ripoffs? What are we? This brings them way back to the roots. They're one of the bands where lockdown served them well because they were wrapped up with their own record collections. So they started listening to what got them into being a band together in the first place, which was a lot of 70s rock, a lot of prog, and a lot of acoustic LA Canyon stuff. So it really throws everything against the wall. And instead of thinking, nah, is that 2 albums? Should we maybe try and separate that? They find a way to sonically put it all together. And it's the first album to be made in a long time, specifically for quad. So the Blu-ray of this comes with a quadraphonic mix that they had in mind from mastering. So from when they recorded the album, they had that in mind as something. Hey, that's something we liked on our old 70s records. Let's try and do that. So it's a real masterclass in production and engineering and recording. But most importantly, the songs are there for the first time in quite a while for them. They've only had 2 albums in the last decade, so it's not as if it's been a long slump. It's just been a kind of, you haven't been very productive, guys. There are a lot of tracks on it. There's 22 tracks, but some of them are a minute long. And it's really just them saying, remember we can do post-punk? And then they just do really heavy post-hardcore for a minute. And then it goes into something Simon and Garfunkel could have done. It is the most bizarre combination, but because you've got this quad mix, it surrounds you with this cacophony of sometimes insanity, but after a while you settle down with it, and it becomes quite beautiful in a strange, scuzzy way. It's a really terrific record for headphones. That's the best way to listen to it, because you will hear things that sound like they're over there. They're over, and it's not one for putting on a wee mono player or something. If you've got one of those horrible little boom boxes that they sell for $20, whatever it is these days. So yeah, my number 3 would be 11. Bleed Tear Now from And You Will Know Us by the Trail of the Dead. So we're just doing number 2 then, straight into that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you can go for it.
No problem. So this was my number 1 for a while. It has been knocked off. It is, pardon the pun, it is this year's model by Mr. Elvis Costello. It's The Boy Named If. This is with the Imposters, once again, who are on top form. What you have here is essentially Elvis doing the kind of music that he hasn't done in a while, where it sounds like he's trying to make an Elvis Costello album, but not in too much of a, I've ran out of ideas kind of way. It sounds very natural. So the stuff here that does sound like it could come off Armed Forces, there's also stuff that sounds like it could come off of King of America. The stuff that sounds like it could come off Get Happy. And there's some new things as well. It's got this kind of dark carnival feel. It's a kind of Tom Waits thing with an almost Mark Ribot kind of guitar sting going through it. And as always, it finds the way to paint these dark ballads as well. There's a track on here called Paint the Red Rose Blue that's just absolutely gorgeous. It sounds like Donovan's song La Leña from the 60s. It's a lovely, lovely song. Penelope Halfpenny, Farewell OK is a good kind of modern rockabilly opening, which it's just the best Elvis Costello album in a long, long time. It's a vague concept album about this boy named If, and that's why it's in this book form. Every copy came signed by Elvis, but it does kind of, it's called Songs and Fables. So in this edition, you get Elvis's paintings and lyrics and short stories for the album as well. So on this one, you get the kind of full whack. So if you only get the album, you're getting everything. But in this, he writes stories about the characters, kind of elaborate on it as well. So it's a kind of multimedia project, which I kind of appreciated the ambition of it after a good few years of Elvis delivering competent but not great albums. The last thing that really excited me was his album with the Roots a good number of years ago. But yeah, this is definitely my number 1 Elvis Costello album in quite a long time, probably the last 30 years really. And then my number 1, which has been my number 1 for a couple of months now since it knocked Elvis off the top of the pops, is Fantastic Negrito, White Jesus, Black Problems, which is just a sensational record. It's a single LP, so it's not a double, but it sounds like once you've listened to it that you have listened to a double record because it's so dense. Again, it's a concept record. He is an African-American bluesman who's always dabbled in more eclectic sounds, but he discovered that his great-great-grandmother was a Scottish white indentured servant who married a slave. So he found out that he had kind of 2 bloodlines, both basically slaves, but one would be subject to racism and one wouldn't, even though they were both ostensibly slaves to plantations and whatnot. So he kind of struggled with that for a while and then decided the best way to get it out of my system is to write a concept album about what they might have gone through. So it sounds rather worthy. It sounds like the kind of thing that, is it going to be a bit preachy in this? Not at all. It is fun, it is upbeat, there's soul, there's jazz, there's funk, there's fusion, there's even a little bit of country, there's a bit of metal. What he does is he uses modern sounds to kind of encapsulate feel rather than just lyrics to encapsulate feel. So when a character's in a kind of mood that might suit metal, it just throws a bit of metal in for 10 seconds. So he's been categorized as a blues artist, but this is certainly a breakout kind of fusion album. And I don't mean jazz fusion, I just mean fusion of all kinds of genres. It's an absolutely fantastic listen. They Go Low, as the title suggests, is obviously inspired by Michelle Obama's words, but that's the kind of breakout single that's been a bit of a success from, and it's become quite an anthem. But there's loads of fun here. Man with No Name and You Better Have a Gun. But it never ever goes too far in one direction to the preachy or to the fun. It kind of remembers, no, these are real people and they were lucky enough to fall in love with each other. So let's celebrate that, but also remember the times that made that a problematic relationship and how we deal with it in the modern age. So as a concept, it's absolutely fantastic, but as a record, it's even better. So I can't see much knocking this off for the rest of the year. So that would be my number one album so far of 2022. That's Fantastic Negritos. I believe it's his 5th album, White Jesus, Black Problems. There you go.
Awesome. Well, you did a great job selling that album. It sounds very interesting. So you had 11 Bleed Here Now by Trail of Dead, if that's correct. Yep. The Boy, or A Boy Named If, or The Boy Named If?
The Boy Named If, yeah.
Elvis Costello. Yep. And Fantastic Negrito, White Jesus, Black Problems.
That's
all right.
The ones, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks. Did you prefer Davy or David?
I answer to most things, but Davy's always fine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks, Davy. That was great. All right. We got a lot of people show up now, so we're gonna keep it rolling. And Bicycle Legs, I know you've got you got a bit of a time crunch going, so we'll sort of skip you right ahead. So why don't you give us your top 3 2022 albums, and if you could tell the people at home where to find you, that'd be great.
Well, where you can find me is at Bicycle Legs on YouTube. Just search Bicycle Legs, all one word, on YouTube, and I should come up. 2 of these 3 albums that I'll be talking about, I've actually done reviews of on my channel, so you can go and have a look at those if you want to go into a little more detail about each of those albums. The first one, though, is one that I haven't done a review of. It's been out for 2 or 3 months, but I've only just recently picked up a physical copy of it, although I have been listening to it prior to that. And it's an Australian band. They've been around since the early 80s. This is their brand new album, and it is the Hoodoo Gurus, and the album is called Chariot of the Gods. And this is just really wonderful, crunchy power pop. Really good, just mostly 2 guitars, bass and drums, just a few little keyboards here and there, but mostly just the guitar, bass and drums. Really melodic, really witty lyrics. The first song, World of Pain, is really, really wonderful. Get Out of Dodge is great. Hang with the Girls, My Imaginary Friend. There's a lot of really good songs on here. It's a double. On the vinyl, you actually get a couple of bonus tracks to make it into the double. They do a cover of, obviously, 5 Believers by Bob Dylan, and they do a cover of I Want to Be Your Man by the Beatles. So, it's really good. And then the last song, I think, is probably the wittiest song. Again, with a bit of a Beatles influence. Instead of Got to Get You Into My Life, the song is called Got to Get You Out of My Life. It's just, they're a really wonderful band. They've been around for a long, long time. Their first album is called Stone Age Romeos from 1984, and I absolutely recommend that to any fans of power pop. It's one of the best power pop albums, I think, ever. This is probably a top 5 Hoodoo Gurus album for me, and considering they've been going around for 40 years, I think that's saying something. My number 2 is probably a fairly obvious choice, but it just really is a great album. It's a comeback album. It's one I have done a review of on my channel, so I won't go into a lot of detail here, but that is Closure Continuation by Porcupine Tree. Look, I was one of these people that if Porcupine Tree had never done another album, I would have been fine with that, because I actually really, really love what Steven Wilson has been doing in his solo career. Even The Future Bites. In fact, I'd say especially The Future Bites. I think that's a fabulous album. I think a lot of Steven Wilson fans have this terrible misconception that the only thing he's ever done before his solo career was Porcupine Tree, when in fact he's done so many other things. He's done No Man, he's done Blackfield, he's done Bass Communion, and they're all completely different kinds of music from Porcupine Tree. Having said that, this is a wonderful comeback for the band, I really think. It doesn't break any new ground, but it does Porcupine Tree really, really well. Yeah, I don't think I need to say much more than that. If you want to know my sort of full details on that, go to Bicycle Legs. I've done a review of the album. You can have a look at it there. And then my number one for now, we'll have to see what the second half of the year brings, is the new album by The Tangent, which is called Songs from the Hard Shoulder. Now, I love The Tangent because they do music in that classic sort of progressive rock style from the 70s, but they definitely give it a 21st century flavor. And also what they do is instead of having sort of the sort of progressive rock lyrics that you expect of sort of myth and fantasy and that sort of thing, Andee Tillotson writes lyrics that are very, very topical, and they talk about what's going on in the world right now. And I really, really like that as a juxtaposition to that sort of 70s style progressive music. The other thing I love about The Tangent is that they, and I mentioned this in my review on my channel, is that they do music that is really, really complex, but at the same time is really, really listenable. It's not difficult stuff to listen to. It's not knotty and that sort of thing. It has a lot of complexity to it, but it also has a lot of really lovely melody to it and beautiful playing. And so I've been listening to this album quite a lot in the last few weeks since I got it. So that's my number one, is Songs from the Hard Shoulder by The Tangent.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in, Bicycle Legs. I know you got you got a bit of a time crunch going, so we appreciate you making it out here for us. That's that's great. So
thank you very much.
Just to make sure I know this down all right, we've got your number 3 by Hoodoo Gurus is Chariot of the Gods.
Yes.
We had Closure Continuation by Porcupine Tree.
Yes.
And is it Songs from the Hard Shoulder? That's what it was by
Songs from the
by
Hard
The Tangent.
Shoulder. Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, great 3 picks. I'm gonna just have a spoiler alert. I probably haven't heard any of the picks that we're gonna get today, but I'm writing them all down so that I have stuff to listen to this year. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm gonna have to run straight away. So have a great rest of the show, guys.
Take care. Take care, buddy.
Thanks.
See you.
And for all you at home, please go like and subscribe to Bicycle Legs and check out his content. It's got a great channel.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here. All right, so we're just going to keep it moving right along. Brian, why don't you give us your top 3 2022 picks and tell the folks a little bit about yourself too before you get started.
Okay, I'm Brian. I also go by Butch. And I don't have one of these of my own yet. I've been thinking about it, but I'm anyone that knows me knows I'm not the most organized or the most efficient or the speediest in getting things done, especially, anyone that's been in a band with me knows. So best intentions, but it's fun doing, I've enjoyed watching the Contrarians, and I just did one of these the other day about Deep Purple. So it's fun doing these kind of things where I can get involved, and so I'm glad to be here. And let's see.
You don't have to do all the work. You just show up. And
Yeah, I just got to show up
just
and,
go
you
up
know,
and let
look
them
pretty
worry
and-
about the editing and the timing and the scheduling. It's wonderful.
That's right.
Or just do what I do and don't edit anything. Just put absolutely
Yep.
everything in the video.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So I don't really have anything to promote in terms of that, and all my bands are on hiatus right now. So it's refreshing, like after years of doing stuff, to kind of get back to reconnecting with being just a fan again, without looking at everything through the perspective of, you know, being in a band and the bands that we play with and everything that entails. But let's see. I'm honestly, it's the first half of the year, and I find myself every year it's the same thing, that I listen to so much music during the year, and I come to a crunch at the end, trying to figure out what my favorites are. So it's hard to pick them early, but some definitely have been standing out. I think it's been a fairly strong year. I'm not ready to say it's as strong as prior years have been, but there's a lot of good stuff. It's just so much to absorb. There's records I just got that I couldn't even fathom, including right now the latest Porcupine Tree. I just picked it up, so I didn't even get a chance to spin it once yet, and I can't imagine that's not going to be in my top 10 by the end of the year, based on what other people are saying about it. So, but here's what I do have. I want to start with this one, and I will also, I just want to say, also in full disclosure, I am friends with these guys here in Pittsburgh, but I'm not one of those people that just pushes my friends' bands. You know, if we're playing with you and I really like a band, like I don't BS or any of that stuff with them, you know. So if I didn't really love this record, but I've been a fan of the main guy and all the musicians of this band for years and the different bands they played. And this is a band called Limousine Beach. This band is kind of like masterminded by Dave Wheeler, who used to be in a band called Carousel, and then was in a band called Outside Inside. Carousel was kind of a, if I always describe them as if Thin Lizzy, Kiss, and Diamond Head got in a street fight. That's what those guys sounded like. And this isn't too far off of that. It's way more 70s based and fun. I mean, this album is short. It's like a half an hour long. There are 13 songs on here in just over half an hour. They hit quick. All the fat's cut out. Again, some of the influences that permeate this record are, you know, it's Kiss, it's Thin Lizzy. They have 3 guitar players. So, you know, having seen these guys live, like your jaw just drops when they get into the 3-part guitar harmonies and vocal harmonies. You know, everyone in the band kind of like chips in on these things. It's upbeat. They keep it moving along. Great guitar playing. Dave Wheeler is a great vocalist. He has a I don't know quite now how to describe his voice, but it's just a great rock and roll voice. I mean, and they have a great sense of humor. I mean, they got songs on here like "Stealing Wine" was the first like kind of like single, if you will, for this. They have a "Black Market Bus Pass" is a great song. "Evan Got a Job." "We're All Gonna Get Signed." I mean, these guys are just a lot of fun. And it's a great record. Tons of great guitar work. I mean, this rhythm section, Dan Buda and Dan Hernandez are fantastic. And these 3 guitar players, Dave and Evan Mitchell and Jason Cici, it's just a killer record. I mean, I can't recommend this album enough. So it's a Limousine Beach, self-titled on TP Records. You know, it's great. You want to get away from all the crappy things going on in the world. You put this record on for a half an hour, and I mean, if it doesn't make you smile, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, you really like them. I did. I've heard you talking about Pittsburgh. I was the collector's corner one. You were talking about, you know, getting your kegs and up on Mount Washington, and so yeah, that's really cool. My number 2 was my number 1 until I got my number 1. And my number 2 is from classic. I mean, it's predictable for me, honestly, if you know me. I mean, this Saxon is long one of my favorite bands. And although they had a period I would say starting in the mid 80s through to the mid 90s, or at least until Unleash the Beast came out, they kind of like hit like a little bit of a valley, but I still always like them. But I can't think of too many bands that had like one classic period and came back with, this lineup's been together for years now, and its album after album has been great. I mean, there's nothing they've put out in the last, since Unleash the Beast, like I said, has been less than an 8-star for me. And honestly, I think this is the best one they've done in a long time. It's got the typical, they're not breaking any new ground. It's Saxon. I mean, you got your fast songs, Carpe Diem, Seize the Day, Dam Busters, Living on the Limit, all like fast, typical fast Saxon kind of like songs. They got a couple like mid-pacey kind of things. Lady in Gray is kind of like a ghost story. And then my favorite song on here is a song called The Pilgrimage, which is fantastic. It might be the most epic sounding thing they've done in a long time. To me, it's actually, when I heard the song for the first time, I thought, oh my goodness, like it immediately launched into being one of my favorite Saxon songs. I just like it's very moody. And like I said, it's big sounding, epic sounding. I mean, and the playing on here, great as always. That lineup, Biff, Paul, Doug, Nigel, and Nibs, fantastic. They play great together. The guitar works phenomenal. Rhythm section killer. And Biff Bifford, 71 years old, had a heart attack where they did this record. And they come out of COVID with this record. I mean, unbelievable. I can't wait to see them on tour. I hope they play a ton from this record when I see them. And then my number 1, and I'll be honest with you, I still feel like I need to digest this record a lot, but I know I love this record. And this is an album called Close by a band called Messa, and they're from Italy. They are a 4-piece. They're a doom band, but they really do things. I'm a huge doom fan. They do things, and look at this, by the way. Like, I don't really get this book, like, that comes with this is like so cool, phenomenal. Like pictures from the studio, the lyrics, you get your band members. But it's almost hard to describe this album. The last one I found out about this band through I was at a festival in Maryland and was talking to someone that had a shirt on. Who's that on your shirt? This band. He said Messa. You have to check out their album Feast for Water. So I checked that out online, and it was one of the most interesting records I've heard, because it sounded like someone took Black Sabbath, gave them a female singer, and then cut across with it with a with like a nightclub jazz band. Like, really interesting. I've heard all kinds of permutations of doom, but jazz doom was something I'd never heard. But it was really interesting. Like a lot of great like piano work on that record, and like smoky atmospheres. And so this one, I mean, I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I got it. It's their 3rd album. I didn't know if they would continue where they were. I was kind of, in some ways, I was kind of hoping they would, because I really enjoyed that album. They do on some of this. There's a couple songs where they go from these crushing like Sabbathy kind of riffs into like a jazz guitar solo, which. But there's other influences they bring on in this album, like they're bringing in some Middle Eastern sounds. They brought in more acoustic instruments to layer things with. I was just listening to an interview with the band, and they recorded some of the acoustic instruments in a cave in Italy, which I thought was pretty cool. this singer Sarah is phenomenal. I've seen them described online as Black Sabbath with Stevie Nicks singing. I didn't quite hear the Stevie Nicks, but I can't really pinpoint her voice. She's somewhere between. I get the vibe of Annika van Giersbergen, but she doesn't sound exactly like Annika, and I don't want to make it, because I love The Gathering, but I don't want to make it like, oh, it's a female fronted doom band. So naturally, they would, I don't make that comparison lightly. I mean, I do get a lot of that in this. I also, someone also described her sounding a little bit like Joanna from Lucifer, and I think she's kind of like a cross between Annika and Joanna with some Stevie Nicks in there. A powerful voice, melodic, sultry, and it's just an interesting record. It's really long though. It's a challenging listen. This is a record that you can't listen to idly. Like, you have to give attention to it. It's not background, driving in the car kind of music, really. This is like soaking it in kind of music. It runs about an hour and 6 minutes, and there's only there's 10 songs on it, but one of which is like 45 seconds long. That out of nowhere, there's this song on here that's like a black metal kind of song. It's really interesting where it was placed. I thought it was the end of the song before it, and it turns out it's its own song. But tremendous record. I mean, emotional and heavy and moody, and it's all over. It's just spectacular. Suspended is a great song. Dark Horse. If You Want Her to Be Taken. Serving Him, the last song, is outstanding. Maybe my favorite on here. Pilgrim, I think, is the video for this album. It's kind of like, they got like an occult rock vibe going through it too. But tremendous record. But like I said, so much to soak in, because there's so many different things happening in the songs. But it was good. Mesa closes this one for anyone that likes doom, that maybe is getting a little bit burnt on it. I mean, I think it hasn't been as exciting a genre as it's been in previous years. Like, this is something that you should listen to, because it's doing new things with the tried and true formula, and definitely worth a listen. So those are my three.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate having you here.
I'm so sold on that. So sold on that last one now. That when you mentioned Joanna, I'm like, okay, let's. Yep. It's really good, Dave. You have to let me know what you think of it when you listen to it.
Yeah. I'm gonna stream
it. Awesome.
That
was you had Limousine Beach, self-titled, Saxon, Carpe Diem, and Close by Mesa. Is that pronounced Mesa?
Yep.
Perfect.
I think it's Mesa, yeah. MESSA.
All right. Well, we'll all hope. All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll keep it moving along. Jamie, why don't you let the people know where they can find you and give us your top 3 2022 picks?
You can see me floating around on Sea of Tranquility as well with Davy. Sometimes we do a show together or two. You can come to my Let's Get Physical page on Facebook, where it's all about physical media and all the shit you see around me. It's real fun, and I'm starting to do I picked one person just today, and I think on Wednesday I pick a person from the page. We'll see how long I do it, because I'm pretty lazy. I'm all go, and I'm like, yeah. Sometimes. So we'll see how long it goes. But I'm gonna do a video with one person. They can show off whatever they want for like 10 minutes, and then I'll pin that video on top of the page, so everyone kind of gets a turn, and everyone kind of gets to see each other face, hear the voice. That's and cool. Create a community like that. Brilliant. So I'll do everybody. So far there's about almost 500 people there. So if I do it, how many weeks are in a year? 52. But the last video we just did on Sea of Tranquility with Davy, I was talking about a band a lot of people hate, but they still sell out arenas. Pearl Jam. I have been a fan since 10, man. And I have, they're kind of my age, maybe some of the maybe Eddie Vedder is like 2 years older than me. I'm not sure how old everyone else is, but I feel like, we all were there in our early 20s. I feel like I've been growing up with this band, we were young adults and now we're older men, and album to album. I bought every album on the day it came out, except 10. And I keep the tradition going. And, they did some albums that were over the last decade, like Lightning Bolt. I haven't listened to that one in a long time, but they came back in 2020 with Gigaton. I absolutely love that album. I don't know, if that would have came out in 1996 instead of what came out, No Code, I think it would have been huge. So I'm like, this band might be on a roll again. Well, there's no new Pearl Jam in 2022, but there is a new Eddie Vedder solo. So, and when I heard it was coming out, I'm like, oh God, is he going to be playing like the ukulele the whole time and yodeling? Because that some of these guys, especially when they do a solo album, you don't know what to expect. Well, I heard the single. I'm like, this is good. This is Pearl Jam without the rest of the guys. The single was called Brother of the Cloud. Some people think it's about Chris Cornell. If you listen to the lyrics, it could be, but he's never come out and say it's about Chris Cornell. So yeah, I was like, is that going to be the one rocker though? And the rest of it is going to be like ukuleles? Well, I bought the album. It's called Earthling. I don't know if I said that. And the first song came on and it's Invincible. And it's building, and here comes that Eddie Vedder passion that I love. And some people say he can't sing. Stop that. You may not like his tone, you may not like his style, and that's an opinion, but the fact is he can sing. Then Power of Right comes on and it's pure arena rock. I'm like, damn, why didn't you save these songs for the next Pearl Jam album? Long Way would have been a hit in the 90s. It's nice, it's moody, it's slow, gets right on the fringe of being repetitive and then pulls back. Right when you think, oh, it's going to be, he pulls back. So yeah, then I said Brother in Cloud. It's one memorable song after another, and that's what makes Pearl Jam great to me, and that's what makes this album great to me. There's actually a song on here called Try that he does with Stevie Wonder on harmonica, and the harmonica is so fast that it sounds like it's being played on 45 RPM. I'm like, there's no way that's Stevie Wonder. He's 72 for crying out loud. And I want to see him play that to prove to me that he actually did it, because that is fast.
Never mind, Stevie. Come on, let's do it ourselves.
Yeah, you're used to you've got a friend. That's what friends are for, or this.
Keep smiling.
Tearing apart the harmonica. And he does a song right after that with Elton John, which is really cool. It's kind of like a throwback to Crocodile Rock, that kind of upbeat, silly little song. It's great. And then Mrs. Mills, he gets his Beatles on. Man, it's pure Beatlesque. It's great. So yes, it was my number one when it first came out, but then time moves on. Number 2 album I recently got, and I'm gonna, we're gonna have to find out in December how the chips fall in Lake. Yeah. Because sometimes I get really excited about a new album when it first comes out, like, this is the best, man. And then 4 months later, sitting on the shelf, it wasn't that great. But right now, July 18th, 2022, I am going with number 2. I love this album. I can't believe how much I love it. The new Coheed and Cambria. Now, these guys are, they get compared to Rush as much as they get compared to My Chemical Romance. It's a combination of both. Some people call them prog metal, some people call them alternative metal. There's a little bit of emo in there. I don't know where to keep them in my collection. I keep things by genre. Sometimes today, when I was finding one of their albums, I was like, where the hell did I keep them, metal or alternative? So they were in metal, but they might be going back to alternative. I don't know. Yeah, I lost track of this band after Good Apollo. That was a great album. Good Apollo 4, blah, blah. Their album titles are like a paragraph long. And then the one came after that. And I was like, this is okay. Then I started to lose track with them. But I would sample their albums every time. So when this came out, I'm like, I'm going to sample and see how they're doing. Holy cow, they put the fun back in the music, because that's what they were losing there for a while. They had the complex music and the progginess, but they forgot that fun. And that's what I know a lot of prog nerds, a lot of prog purists, when they listen to music, they hate fun. They really hate fun. And I think they hate the dance. they
Name
like
them,
to sit
Jamie,
there
name them.
and listen to music like it's some math equation and go, you know, and put it on the chalkboard. And yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but not all the damn time, man. So Beautiful Losers kicks this album off. It's got big sweeping melodies. This sounds like Coheed in their prime, what I consider in their prime, which is like the first 3 albums. Comatose, here comes the fun. It's prog music you can dance to. You know, another thing people think is a dirty word is pop music. It's not a dirty word. Not when it's done well, not when it's done right.
Yep.
Shoulders, that brings the heavy a little bit. Then they remind you that, yeah, we're a heavier band at times. Disappearing Act. Some people might say this song has a little bit too much fun. You know, sometimes too much fun is a bad thing. You know, ask me when I'm on my 12th beer. Too much fun is a bad thing. I'm done. I'll have number 13. But this song, Disappearing Act, starts off with heavy keyboards, like almost you can't hear the guitar. And then here comes the drum beat. And the whole song plays out kind of like a danceable pop hit. But I tell you what, when it's on, remember how Beavis used to dance in Beavis and Butthead? You know, I find myself dancing. I need a butthead to slap me across my head. Love Murder 1 keeps that pop aspects going with prog metal in going in and out. Then the Liars Club, man. The Liars Club that's probably the best song on the album. It would fit on their best album from like, when did Good Apollo come out? Like 2004 or 5, maybe. I mean, this band's been around for 20 years. So yeah, but if you want like real progginess, the last 3 songs, especially Ladders of Supremacy and Window of the Waking Mind, are great prog albums. I should probably say what this long-winded album title is. It's Vaxis 2, A Window of the Waking Mind. Write that down, Nick. Vaxis 2. And it's a second part of this story, which, you know what, I forget what this one's called, and it's not written anywhere. It's not on the CD, and it's not on the CD cover. You gotta like Google it every time to remind you what the hell it's called. It's longer than what this one's called. It's called Beautiful Creatures, something colon, blah, 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 blah. But this one, it's good, but it doesn't have the fun of this one. So there you go. There was 1, there was 2, or I mean, there's 3, there's 2. My number 1, the drummer is a good friend of mine ever since 4 o'clock this afternoon. Because I text the band. You know, I wanted to find out some information about him, and I wanted to get a quotes. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get quotes from a certain music critic. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name is Martin Popoff. Have you guys heard of this cat? He has some positive quotes about Guild of Others. And it's their self-titled album. And this is kind of where Coheed is a lot of fun with the progginess. This is just a little bit of fun. So prog purists would find something to like here that they would not find in Coheed. And I went on their page because I knew Martin has some favorable quotes about this band. Martin's not known to review newer bands too often. So this is what Martin Popoff has said. Guild of Others accomplish the near impossible, and that's make progressive metal that's accessible. This sounds like Thinking Man's stadium rock. In a plethora of old and new school styles, these hooky compositions keep the proceedings earthy and built for the stage. There's no reason why Guild of Others can't serve large pockets of fans. And I agree. So I went, when I found that quote on their Facebook page, I said, the little thing popped up in my screen. You want to send them a message? Sure, I'll send them a message. Hey, I'm going to be talking about your album, saying it's the best album of 2022 so far. Yeah, you know, you send a message. Well, the drummer texts me back and say, cool, man, I just sent you a friend request on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me the lowdown on the band. I said, should I call this a project or should I call it a band? He goes, call it a band. It's Tom Wallace is the drummer who texted me. And he said it's pretty much just Steve Ray Potts and me with some other guys guesting. So they got a couple guys singing and they got someone on bass, Tony Franklin, a guy on keyboards. So yeah, it's mainly two guys with a revolving door behind them. And they got hooks, but they don't beat you over the head with hooks. You know what I mean? Sometimes you listen to prog metal and they try too hard to put the earworm in me and I get sick of it. I get sick of the earworm before the song is even over sometimes. These guys are a little bit more mild with the hook, but they got great melodies. Other Side is the first song. It sounds like, listen to this combination, Dream Theater meets Alice in Chains. And they make it work. They got the progginess, metalness of Dream Theater, but they got those harmonies in the way Alice in Chains would sing with those harmonies in it. Balance. This sounds, it's proggy, but it sounds like a Styx song that Tommy Shaw would have written. And when the guy does the chorus, he sounds like Tommy Shaw. Which guy is singing? Michael Sadler. So he kind of knows he's doing a Tommy Shaw type composition. So he almost forces the Tommy Shaw voice out of him. Always There starts off with great vocal melodies. You know, they do this a few times on this album. They'll do these wonderful, beautiful melodies. And you're like, oh, I listen to it and I go, my mom would like this song. This is the kind of song me and my mom could chill to. But then they slowly layer in that progginess. And by the end of the song, you're listening to full on prog. And you don't even know how you got there because you just enjoyed the trip so much. Memento, they do the same thing with that. Wonderful melodies starts off the song and then boom, layer of progginess. And there you are, full on prog at the end. New World Disorder is probably like the most full-on prog metal song on the album, but then it's got a chorus that's made to be sung in arenas, man. Elysium sounds like Styx again, but this time the guy singing, Michael Sadler, really? He sings this song too? Well, now he's impersonating Dennis DeYoung. If I got my singers right, because there are a couple singers on here. It sounds like Dennis DeYoung style Styx. And if there was a sequel to Mr. Roboto, this is what it would sound like. I like Mr. Roboto. I don't know if you guys like Mr. I'm not saying Kilroy was here. It's a great album, but I've always liked that song, Mr. Roboto. And this is a good, it's in the same style of that and really good. Veil of Insanity. This is where they come closest to sounding like a band called Haken. If you like Haken, it would fit on like the last couple of Haken albums. And then Spirit Host, it's a great song. I was kind of hoping this album would end with a big bang, and it's just a good solid song that maybe should have been in the middle, but then if you put it in the middle, which one do you put at the end? I don't know. Write a new song and put that one at the end, the big thing. But what my good friend Tom told me, good friend since 4 o'clock, is they're going to start recording a new album in November, and they're going to get some of these guys back in, the keyboardists and a couple singers and some new people, and it'll be pretty much like this album, but they're going to add a long, big epic to it. So there's my long, big epic that I probably wanted on this. That'll be on the next one. So there you go. Guild of Others. Buy it. He's a friend of mine. So buy it.
All right. Oh,
my whole laptop. My laptop crashed, literally.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sturdy laptop. You still
Bloody
here.
earthquakes.
That's how much passion Jamie has about these top 3 picks. Tossing the furniture around. All right. Well, thanks, Jamie. As
Cheers,
always,
that's great.
Yeah, awesome. And we appreciate you coming here.
Sure.
And let's keep it going with John, the Music Nut. Why don't you let the folks at home know a little bit about yourself and give us your top 3 2022 picks.
Hey, thank you very much. I am John Allopick from Monroe Township, Pennsylvania, and I am a music nut. You could find me on Ryan's Vinyl Destination, Grant's Rock Warehouse, Rock Daydream Nation, here on the Contrarians. Without further ado, I'll go with my top 3. Now, this is a band I've been listening to. That's mid-2000s. They're one of the great indie rock bands around. And I thought the last 2 albums they were making, they were kind of going into that dance rock sound, which I know that a lot of bands for that genre are doing. This time they got their mojo back. The guitars are back. The great different moods and textures are still there. Excellent album. And I'm talking about Spoon. And they're from Austin, Texas. And this album is called Lucifer on the Sofa. This came out in February. And like I said, they really got their mojo back on this one. So many great songs. Held is an excellent opener with the choppy guitar lines. And then they got some dive bomb solos going on after the choruses. It's an excellent opening track. Hardest cut, hits hard. It's just 3 minutes of indie rock goodness. Just a really great tune. Very catchy. My favorite song of the year so far, and it's all you old school boxing fans out there who love Vinny Pazienza and Roy Jones Jr. This song's called The Devil, Mr. Jones. And this song just has an irresistible groove to it. The horn lines, the guitar lines work so well. Great chorus. Fantastic song. Love it. Wild is a really cool tune. This sounds like something that's going to go over really well live, particularly with its ring guitar lines and its chorus. Outstanding track again. After this, the album starts going more moody. My Babe is more of a love song, but it's not like a piano ballad or anything. It's just a cool love song that works really well. Feels All Right. They go back to the indie rock again, and the guitar lines in that are really cool. On the Radio is Catchy as Sin. Great tune, probably my second favorite song on the album next to Devil Mr. Jones. Then after that, it gets a little more moody with Astral Jacket and Satellite. They're both very good tunes as well. And the title track closes, and this is a really cool tune. Excellent drum beat on it. The guitars are very sparse on here. It's basically led by the piano and a sax it's kind of recorded in the background. It's not up front, but it's just a great vibe. All great vibe throughout this album, in fact. And this is my number 3. It's Spoon, Lucifer on the Sofa. Now,
So the same lineup, John.
Britt Daniel's still there. The drummer's still there. They may have replaced another member since Hot Thoughts.
So I was going to say, it's really weird you mentioned him because Britt's on this. He does guest vocals on this.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, on the Trail of the Dead album. So that's a bit of an odd coincidence, but there you go.
Very nice.
Whatever Davy wants to reference, it's always laying right next to him. He never gets up to get anything. It's like he's using a big pile of CDs or albums. Here it is. And there's that one.
I've got very long arms.
Absolutely. So my number 2. Now, this is a band that's been around a long time, but they're not the most prolific band. In fact, this is their first album in 16 years. And I think this is their best band since their 80s heyday. And as a matter of fact, Bicycle Legs did a fantastic review of this album on his channel. And this is a band I never got to see live until a few weeks ago, and they blew me away, and they played a ton of songs off this new album, and they all went over very well. And I'm talking about Tears for Fears.
Oh, the tipping point.
The tipping point.
Yeah.
fantastic album, very well recorded. Kurt Smith doesn't look like or sound like he's aged well since the 1980s. He looks exactly the same. Roland Orzabal is still fantastic craftsman, excellent tracks throughout. No Small Thing starts out, and it's actually an acoustic song, which is a little different for Tears for Fears, but then it goes into that excellent recorded pop that they did so well in the 80s and the 90s too. I thought the 90s albums were very good, even though there weren't really a ton of hits on them. But the title track is excellent. The title track and the chorus, You Know That I Would Love You More, is a great hook in the chorus. Excellent song. Long Time, that's Kurt sings on that. And that has a nice piano line in it. And another great chorus as well, great harmonies as well. Break the Man, in the 80s, this would have been a hit. This track is excellent. Roland and Kurt sound fantastic on this one. Excellent melody. My Demons, more hard-hitting. That song is very, very good as well. Rivers of Mercy starts out, sounds like a street scene out of New York City. And then it goes right into this beautiful piano ballad. And just a beautiful, gorgeous track. Please Be Happy is more mellow. That's a Kurt Smith song. That's probably the mellowest track on the album. That's very good. Master Plan has that big Beatles, Sgt. Pepper production, or Seeds of Love production.
Seeds of Love, yeah, very much.
Yeah, or just Seeds of Love production has that same kind of thing. End of Night is sounds more like keyboard pop from the 80s, and that works really well. And Staying is very somber closer. You expect it to like get more dramatic, but it just stays really somber and mellow the whole time. But excellent album all around. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been listening to Tears for Fears, definitely check this out if you stop listening to them in the 80s or 90s, because this is a wonderful album, very well recorded, and Roland and Kurt sound fantastic here. They're back on their game. They got their mojo back. Now, my number one, now we're to go blues. And this came out in January. And this is one of the great blues guitar players out there. He's been cutting albums since 1989. He's been on a creative renaissance the last several years. I mean, the last 8 years that he's put out 5 albums, and they're all very, very good. Excellent singer, fantastic guitar player that makes it look effortless. And he's from Atlanta, Georgia, and it's Tinsley Ellis. And the album is called Devil May Care. Killer. Fantastic album. Everything here smokes. It has a bit of an Allman Brothers feel to it. They're one of my 3 favorite bands, so right there I like it, but it doesn't sound like a copycat or anything. It just he has some of that tone in some of the songs. He doesn't sing like Greg Allman, but even though his voice is very soulful, but everything here kicks. But One Less Reason is his excellent opener. Right Down to Drain's very wicked. Just Like Rain is a beautiful ballad, and he sings the hell out of this song, and his guitar tone on here is superb. Don't Bury Our Love is another great ballad on here. Juju, it starts out, it kind of sounds like Ain't Wasting Time No More, the opening track on the Allman Brothers' Eat a Peach.
Eat a Peach, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the beginnings like that. The rest of the song totally different. Very groovy, very catchy, great tune. It's very, very joyous with the guitar lines and Tinsley's vocals on here. Excellent. Step Up has great horn lines on it that really complement Tinsley's guitar playing very well. Smoking track. Beat the Devil's another killer track. One Last Ride, that does sound a lot like late 80s, early 90s. Almost sound like something that Dickie Betts would write. It's very good. 28 Days is a scorcher. It works really well. And Slow Train to Hell is a great slow closer. He does slow blues as well, heavy blues as well as anyone. But Tinsley Ellis is fantastic live too. And this is my number one so far for this year. And
Brilliant.
it's called Devil
Fantastic.
May Care.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Writing that one down.
So thanks, John. As always, great. Appreciate having you here. So you said your top 3 picks were Spoon, Lucifer on the Sofa.
Yes.
Hopefully I wrote all this down right.
Okay.
Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point,
Yes.
and it's Tinsley Ellis.
Yeah,
Tinsley. Yep.
TINSLEYELLIS.
All right, perfect. Devil May Care.
Correct.
Awesome. And I'm just realizing I did something stupid, and I think I forgot to confirm Jamie's picks as well. So Jamie, just wanted to confirm you chose Eddie Vedder, Earthlings.
Earthlings, singular.
Earthling, singular. All right. Coheed and Cambria, Vaxis, to A Window of the Waking Mind.
No, dude, I got to look at my notes again just to see. Access to A Window of the Waking Mind. Yes.
All right, perfect. And Guild of Others, self-titled. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again. All right. So last but not least, Todd Evans. Why don't you let the people know a little bit about yourself, and then give us your top 3 2022 picks.
Okay. I don't have my own channel, but I appear on the Contrarians and occasionally Rush Fans, and also Ryan's Final Destination and Rock Daydream Nation and Grant's Rock Warehouse. And my picks start with something that just came out, so I don't have a physical copy of it because it came out the 15th of July, which was Friday. And apparently they ran out of them. I tried to pre-order it on Amazon and they said it's going to be another couple of weeks before they can get some. So I guess that's a good thing for the band. So I'll just hold up my phone. This is The Other Side of Make Believe by Interpol. And Interpol is an indie rock band. It's been around almost 20 years, I think. I'm real happy about this album because I kind of felt like their last album, Marauder, which came out in 2018, was not really to my liking. Their drummer, Sam Fogarino, is one of my favorite drummers, and he's got a real tight, danceable almost kind of sound, like with the thumping bass drum. And the last album had some things that sort of veered into kind of garage rock, and they were kind of sloppy. And that's okay if that's what you like, but to me, that's not what I want to hear Sam play. So I'm really happy about this album. It has some piano in it, some keyboards. It has some things that are really melodic, which I thought that they had maybe taken a little step away from. A lot of people with this band only think their first 2 albums are good. I'm not one of those people. Their first album, Turn on the Bright Lights, and their second album, oh crap, what's their second album called? Anyway. Thank you, Antics. I actually like the 3 that come after that, and I like this one. And let me see here, a track listing. It's weird not having a physical thing to hold. I think the songs are really, really melodic, and they're really interesting as far as the way Paul Banks sings them as usual. There's a song that was released earlier before the album came out called Something Changed that I really like. There's a song called Renegade Hearts that I think is really melodically strong. My favorite song is one of the moodier tunes called Passenger. And then there's another one called Grand Hotel, which has a video that goes with it that's kind of more like a short film. There's Mellotron and the song Big Shot City. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I've only had it a couple of days, so I can't really say too many things about it, but I'm just thrilled that the direction that they took with it. And it's more adventurous and a little less noisy, a little more elegant. And I like that. I wanted them to go in that direction. So that's my number 3, Interpol, The Other Side of Make Believe. My number 2 is no surprise since I'm wearing the t-shirt, Halo by Amorphous. This came out in February, and Amorphous is a really, really epic band from Finland. They've been described a lot of different they've had a lot of different genres attached to them, but I think that symphonic rock probably, I mean, symphonic metal probably describes them the best. I like a lot of prog rock, and I like a lot of really dense productions, but I tend to like normally a little bit of space in my music. There isn't any space in Amorphous. Everything is filled up with everything but the kitchen sink kind of all the time. It's kind of got everything going. I mean, that's not that there's not quiet parts in some of the songs, but there's it's kind of, their albums are kind of epic after epic. And I understand that there are probably people who get tired of that, but I'm not one of those people. Amorphous is like there's harsh vocals and clean vocals, and the harsh vocals are never more than 50%. They're usually less than 50%. They have some songs that have no harsh vocals at all. And the vocalist Tommy Utzon, his clean vocal sound is kind of it's kind of gothic sounding. It reminds me of Peter Murphy. I've said that before, and people have said, "Oh, it doesn't sound like Peter Murphy," but I think it does. But almost all their lyrics come from a book called I have this spelled out phonetically so I don't butcher it, the Kalevala. And it's a 19th century work of epic poetry about the creation of the earth. So it's very epic, very, very lofty topics. And it's considered the national epic of Finland. And so it gives you a little bit more of an idea how to appreciate the band, because when you listen to the epic music and you read the words along with it and understand that those are words that exist in a very, very old book, it makes it very, very interesting. But I love this album. I kind of feel like Amorphous is on kind of like a high. I think their last 7 albums, every album has been just a little bit better than the one before it. This might be the first one that is as good as the one before it instead of a little bit better, because I really love Queen of Time from 2018. But there are some really great tracks on here. Northward, On the Dark Waters, and The Moon, the first 3 songs are just really epic and really fantastic. There's a song here called War, which is seems kind of timely with what's going on now. And Halo, the title track, is one of the songs that doesn't have any harsh vocals on it. And My Name is Night has a female vocalist. It's a duet with, let me see if I can find her name here.
Stevie Nicks.
No, it's not Stevie Nicks. And in fact, I'm not even going to mention her name because I'm pretty sure I won't pronounce it correctly. But Annick van Giersbergen was the guest vocalist on the last album, and who I absolutely adore. But
Love her.
yeah, I can't say enough great things about this band, and I wish that more people knew who they were. But you know, they come here every year for the past 5 years, and I think I've had a lot of opportunities to see them. So that's pretty good to consider. I live in the southern United States. So, but my number one is, and this is another hint because it's right behind me, it's definitely going to be Porcupine Tree Closure Continuation. There's been some talk about whether or not Porcupine Tree should have even made another album. I'm one of those people that like Steven Wilson's solo career a lot. And like Bicycle Lake said earlier, I even like The Future Bites. I like when he goes in more of a pop direction. I as far as I'm concerned, he can go in any direction he wants to. But this album, one of the things I really like about it is with the, not to say this is a good thing, but with the bass player Colin Edwin not being there, it kind of gives you, it has a feeling of Richard Barbieri, the keyboardist, being more of a force in this band than I ever thought that he was before. Not that I didn't appreciate him, but as a 3-piece, it kind of gives everybody, kind of puts everybody on equal footing. Steven Wilson, Richard Barbieri, and drummer Gavin Harrison. But I think that there are some things that are a little bit new on this album that I haven't heard before. Steven Wilson has kind of a real desperate voice that I haven't heard all that often in the first song, Harridan. And it's really interesting too, because Harridan was released, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months before this record came out. It's the lead track on this album. And I didn't appreciate it until the album came out. I don't know what makes that happen, but I think that's really cool when you listen to a song when it's available way before the album comes out, and then the album comes out and you like it more because of putting it in context with the album. Yeah. So that's how I felt about Harridan. But I also think one of the things that Steven Wilson has been criticized for in the last with his last couple of solo albums is that he goes into a falsetto voice, and a lot of people who want everything to sound like Porcupine Tree don't like that. But on the song Dignity, he goes into the falsetto right at the main climax of the song, and it's very effective, and he's not in it a lot. And the moment that he does that is really beautiful and really touching. And Dignity is my favorite song on there. On the New Day is a song that I also like. It's a mellower song. And Rat's Return, I think, is very rhythmic and really innovative, I think, even for them. But it's a great album all the way through. I really like it. I'm glad they did it. And with the bass player that has been on the previous albums not being there, Steven Wilson apparently is playing all the bass on it. And one of the things that I noticed about it that I thought was cool was that every bass performance and every song is really extraordinarily good. And so, and they're all different. Every song, the bass sounds a little different on every song. And I just think he did a great job. So that's my number one. That's only been out a couple of weeks. That came out the 24th of June, and I still feel like I've got some to learn on that. Couple of honorable mentions: Boy Named Biff, Elvis Costello. I just have the crummy single CD with a little booklet, no extra art or stories or anything like that.
I'll do an audio book for you, Todd.
Yeah, I'm gonna click-clack my way over to Amazon and try to pick one of those up. And also, Tipping Point is great. And I forgot to mention that I also have the cassette of. I was going to ask you
if you had
I didn't know you liked cassettes.
If you really like the album, you have to have it at least on 2 formats.
And it's funny. Yeah. It's funny because it was kind of like, oh, well, you're buying the CD and you're buying the album. So, you want to add the cassette. It's only $9 more. I'm like, sure. And then after the album came out, I got an email and they said, well, you might want the deluxe download because it's got 4 bonus tracks. It's only $6. And I'm like, sure, pile it on.
Are you going to buy the physical copy again if it comes out with those bonus songs on the physical copy?
No.
You lie. You're a liar.
I'm good with the. I bought it. I bought it enough times. I'm good with the high res downloads. So those are my choices.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Todd.
Sure.
As always, great to have you here. So just to make sure I got this down right, you had Interpol, The Other Side of Make Believe, Amorphous Halo, and Porcupine Tree Closure. Is it Continuation? Continuation. I wrote down Continuum and Continuation, and I'm looking at it like, All right, Continuation.
It's very cryptic because on the front it's like this, and the tracks on the back are like that. So I have to remind myself what it's called too sometimes.
All right. Well, that's our sampling of top 2022 albums from Contrarians. So Davy, Brian, Jamie, John, Todd, I want to thank all of you for coming around and sharing your top 2022 albums with us. Thanks so much. We only had a little bit of overlap here, a couple overlapping honorable mentions at the end from Todd there, and Porcupine Trees. So I guess that means they win this. I'm not really sure the rules are for this. I think it's just off the fly.
There are no winners
5 for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, then that evens it
5
out.
with a bullet.
So no winners or losers, but please let us know what your top 3 releases for 2022 are in the comments, whether contrarian or not. We want you to join the conversation, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks again to all our panelists, and thanks to everyone at home watching. And I guess we'll have to do an end of the year review and see how these picks held up. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
See y'all.
Cheerio.